What's up, guys? Homie Bigg Vic, we back in here with another video. First, I want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all for helping me hit 100,000 subscribers over here on Bigg Vic TV. I appreciate every last one of you for tapping in, for sharing, for commenting, for jumping on the lives, for just putting the word out there when people ask about the box truck business, and you even sending them over to my content. You're sending them over to my channel. A lot of times I run into people and they'll tell me like, yeah, I talked to so-and-so. They told me about your channel. I started watching your videos. So I appreciate the person who referred you to the channel. I appreciate you guys 1,000% from the bottom of my heart. This has definitely been one of the things that was on my vision board, was obtaining that 100,000 subscriber YouTube award, the plaque. That's gonna be in the mail shortly. Yeah, I wanted that plaque and you guys helped me make that possible. So I appreciate you for that. The topic of today's video, I was talking to an associate. We was talking about rentals, and he was talking about his experience with the rental, starting his authority with his rental truck. He got a rental truck because he wasn't in a position to go buy a truck at the time. So he got his rental truck. The rental was $1,000 a week plus 30 cents per mile. I need y'all to listen to this. I need y'all to stick around and listen to this, because some of you guys are thinking about, you're watching videos, you're in Facebook groups, you're hearing people say start with a rental truck. This is not 2021, you guys. This is not 2022. Freight was going crazy. Truck drivers were a lot more scarce at that time because of, coming out of COVID. And so a lot of freight needed to be pushed out there. And there was amazing opportunity with, box trucking, with freight, period. Pretty much whatever you were driving, you were going to be able to make some money, even if that was a rental, depending on the rate. And so we're in 2025 going on 2026. And back then, a lot of those rental companies weren't up on what people were using the rental trucks for. They didn't realize guys were renting trucks and going to move freight and putting their MC numbers on the side of those trucks and making money, running up some miles. And so they had some rates at the time, they was getting, people were renting, making money. A lot of those people are not renting now. But even if, let's fast forward to today. Associate of mine had a rental, started with a rental, brand new authority. I need y'all to catch this. Brand new authority, rental vehicle. $1,000 a week, 30 cents a mile. You got a brand new authority. There's only a small amount of brokers that are even going to entertain letting you run their freight. Mind you, back in 21, 22, brokers were taking more chances with newer authorities. Even if you were 30 days in, 60 days in, you probably had a greater chance of booking a load then as opposed to now. More fraud has been introduced to the freight world. More fraudulent carriers are out there now. People from overseas with MC numbers over here in the States that, with virtual addresses and all this, all this other weird stuff that are not real carriers, but they're taking those loads, posting those loads on the board and making it seem as if, or even fake brokers posting those loads on the load boards, making it seem as if you're going to get paid after you move said load. Imagine having a rental, $1,000 a week, 30 cents a mile. Any load that you book with a rate like this, you're already in desperation mode. And to add insult to injury, the rental company is going to take that $1,000 for the week, that 30 cents per mile. And then when your new week starts, probably on a Monday, they're going to extract more money out of your account. Whether you made money or not, whether you moved one load or two loads, they're going to be deducting from your bank account. Whatever account you have set up with them, they're going to be deducting that money. This is why a lot of people get frustrated with renting. I remember a while back, a box truck couple had talked about it when they were in a rental vehicle. But this was back in the days. And they got fed up with every time they turned around, the budget was rental company was pulling money out of their account the first week. Before the next week gets started, more money was coming out of their account. They're like, wait, man, where are all these fees coming from? You guys are like, it's like you prepaying to rent the vehicle. And so, people were talking about, maintenance. We don't have to worry about maintenance. I already told you guys that mileage, that cents on that mileage that you paying, that's the maintenance. You just prepaying for the maintenance. The only difference is if it breaks down, they either bring you another truck or you're just without a truck until they can find you another one. Or someone comes out to fix the truck to get you back up and running. But you're prepaying. You're prepaying for it. Please make no mistake about it. Now, my associate had this truck for $1,000 a week, 30 cents a mile. First load gets booked. I want to say it was maybe out of Charlotte going to Miami. Now, he's watching my videos, right? He tells me, he's like, I'm watching your videos. And I get down to Miami. I drop the load off. Everything went smooth. I'm sitting there for 3 days trying to book another load up out of there. First load we booked was what, TQL. Now, I told you guys, TQL is the king of cheap freight. They're the king of cheap freight. They get your truck moving, but they're the king of cheap freight, okay? Meaning they've built their entire business model off the backs of new carriers, mostly new carriers, moving cheap freight. And because you got that $1,000 swinging around next week, you're almost willing to take anything. Now, he said, when I was in Miami on that third day, I found another load that got me out of there. Well, actually, he had to drive a couple of hours out of there, maybe to Jacksonville, just somewhere to get him out of. He had the deadhead out of there first to even find a load, because there's not too many loads coming up out of Miami, right? So he gets this next load. Let's just call it Jacksonville, going to Columbia, South Carolina. Goes to Columbia, South Carolina. He gets a load coming out of there, drops that load off, and then books the next load going to Colorado out of Columbia, South Carolina. One load. I want to say the first load he took was like $1,800 he said it was $1,800 going from Charlotte to Miami. And so he's like, that was $1,800. Dead heading up out of there. Need y'all to keep the calculations in the back of your mind. $1,000 we already got coming out. We're not even talking about insurance yet. Mind you, most of the week is already gone from having to sit in Miami by taking that load to Florida with the new authority. I need y'all to keep this in mind. The new authority is the thing, plus the rental. Two bad combinations. New authority plus rental. The rental place was ridiculous with the rate. $1,000 a week, 30 cents a mile. 30 cents a mile is crazy work, y'all. That's crazy work in a rental vehicle with the new authority. Check this out. You got a new authority. The window of brokers that you can book loads with is even smaller, and you can't even partial a load on top of that. Why? Because your authority is new. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters? It's not that many brokers you're gonna be able to call that's gonna let you move your freight. And if TQL don't have nothing you can move, maybe a Nolan Transportation Group, a lot of these other brokers, they've built their businesses off the backs of carriers that out of desperation almost have to take whatever the load is paying just to keep the rental truck moving, just to try to make some type of profit. That was the number one reason why, if I couldn't buy a truck, I just was not going to do this business. That was just my story. I was not doing this business in a rental truck. I watched videos. I watched guys that had rental trucks, that was out there, making a few dollars. That wasn't enough money for me to want to get in the business on just doing it the rental way starting off. I did not want to do that, because I sat there and I kind of messed with the numbers, and I was like, okay, I would rather pay $900, $800. I'd rather pay $1,000 a month purchasing a vehicle, dealing with the maintenance as it comes, versus a rental company taking money out of my account every single week plus the mileage. In the back of my mind, I'm always wondering, I'm looking at my miles, but I'm also calculating in my head as I'm driving how much the rental company is about to smack me in the head for at the end of the week on top of the rental rate. And so I'm not sure if a lot of you guys think about this before you decide to go get that MC number, and before you decide to go into that rental company's office to rent a vehicle. But in my mind, the only time a rental would come in handy for me is if I had a contract that required me to have 10 drivers. I got 3 trucks that I own, and maybe the money that this contract is paying me, it's worth it for me to go find a decent rate on a rental and hire more drivers to move said freight. That's when a rental will come in handy for me, or a breakdown or something like that, and I'm in a contract and I have to move the freight, based on me being contractually obligated, but just coming in with the rental, like I said, few years ago, that probably was a more viable option. Brokers wasn't acting crazy telling you got to have 5-10 inspections first, right? You know, you ran into some every now and again back then that was like, you know, you don't have any inspections, we can't use you. I ran into those even when I started. I had more that said yes than, that said no. I kept calling, kept dialing, kept building the relationships. That rental route is something you really, really, really have to think about. As I said before, you guys already have to have, you already have to know you are going to move freight. You already have to have your game plan together. You already have to have, basically, you need contracts in place, whether you're leased onto a company, however that is. But you need to know for sure that you're going to be moving freight. Do you know how many people, you guys? Do you know how many people I've did consultations with that were telling me the rates that they had on these rental trucks? Now, back then, you were also able to immediately, if you had a rental, you were immediately able to get on with Amazon. A lot of those options are not available now. Think really, really hard before going out, getting a rental vehicle, because I wouldn't waste money. I personally would not waste my money on a rental vehicle if I'm not able to move freight immediately. If I got to go get a rental truck with a brand new authority in 2025 going into 2026, and I got to sit there and keep dialing and keep calling brokers and hopefully someone lets me book a load, you will be in desperation mode, which means you're going to be taking those $20, $30 loads, those $30 rate per miles that are out there for the brokers that prey on new authorities, and hope that you're one of the ones that take their cheap freight, because you put yourself in a desperation situation to where you literally have to move almost anything to try and make some money. If I were you, I'm just saying, if I were you, I'd wait, put myself in a better position financially, work on my credit. Then I would possibly pursue going out here purchasing a vehicle. This is if you're serious now. If you're not serious, you could do whatever you want to do. But for the serious person who says, this is what I want to do, I'm really serious about doing this thing, this is what I want to do. I want to go purchase me a vehicle. Get your credit in order. Save up your coins. Go to an auction, buy you a truck, find someone selling a truck. I personally would not recommend, I still do not recommend you going to get a rental vehicle. A lot of you guys still talk about you getting rentals. You're going to start with a rental. You're trying to do it on the weekend. Unless you're getting a rental truck to move people's furniture, move people, out of apartments, out of houses on the weekends, then that's something totally different. But I'm talking about actually moving freight, having your MC number and US dot number and building relationships and actually building a real business, building a company. If that's not your game plan, I would stay away from rentals. It's just again, that's my opinion. I run into guys all the time that say, I'm in a rental right now, or they're just in it temporarily, right? They're buying a truck. They got a truck on, or they're already about to purchase a truck, something like that. They already have freight. They've already have their own Amazon accounts, things like that. They got relationships already, and they're able to make money immediately with their rental. And maybe they found a decent rental rate, but $1,000 a week is crazy work. 30 cents a mile, that's crazy work. It's gonna hurt your pocket. The rental company is gonna win. At the end of the day, they are going to win. If you got a crazy rental story, please drop it down below in the comment section, because I want people to kind of see what experience people have been having with their rentals. Now, I know some people that have rentals, but they also have aged authorities. They also have relationships already. They also have steep discounts based on the amount of rental vehicles that they have from these rental companies. But their business is already rolling. It's a difference. But he told me that story. I was like, you paid $1,000 a week, 30 cents a mile. I was like, whoa. You literally have to book every load you take. You almost like, whatever it is, I'm taking it, because you got that rental rate coming out every week, and they charging you the mile. They're charging you for the mileage. Drop your stories down below. Once again, y'all, shout out. We hit 100,000. If you're gonna be in Vegas, drop it down below in the comment section. Let me know. I'm looking forward to meeting you in Vegas. It's Tommy Bigg Vic TV. You already know what it is. Always hustle. Never stop growing. Never stop growing. It's Tommy Bigg Vic TV. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's eat, baby.